I'm gonna do a video today showing some tricks on my stream and also showing my launch settings all in detail, as well as how to make an auto execute, what I put in my auto execute, the animation cancel basically, when jumping from high, like hitting the ground, but the timing of it, and I'll show you. As I said, I'll show the hover thing. I will show you my launch options and how to set up and make an auto execute. How do you see if it's player drop? See these blue circles on the map right here? That means it's random. See the blue line? That means we can pick it up. So that means those are random drops. If you see a blue drop early as it's coming down a line and it disappears, it's a player drop. And if you don't see the blue circles when it's appearing, it's a player drop. Yo, okay. So if you have a Kraber or if you have a Mastiff, you see I have 4 shots in mag, 16. Well, whatever. 416. I shoot 2 bullets. I reload. I have 414. I swap my slot back to 416. You can have infinite ammo with legendary weapon. When you're in queue, the jump master icon defaults to the 3rd player. But if Moon picks his character through auto selecting, that means not clicking the character and locking in. And if he just lets it run out without selecting a character, it'll pick his most recent pick character, but it won't give him jump master anymore. It'll give jump master to the person that picked his character, like by clicking, or randomizing it between the 2 that did. So if he clicked it, he'll get jump master. If he didn't click on his character to lock it in, it'll give it to someone else. So that way, if he's BRB or AFK, he's not the one that drops. Big brain from Respawn. I like that. Okay, this is cool. If you're a wraith and you're grappling and you're like, fuck, I'm getting shot at, I want to go all the way over there. You can face while still on the grappling. It's really useful sometimes. Especially getting shot at a balloon and shit. Someone aimed at me. That's Pog. Wingman, like some of the other pistols, your first shot is 100% accurate towards the middle. The only reason I'm changing like where I am is because of the crosshair moving. But the very first shot of your wingman is accurate. Also here, if you're playing in bunker, you've probably seen this already. You can go up there. You can stand on it. You can also, if someone's blocking a door, I blew this up. You can kick the door either to open it or to break it. Let me show you guys how to do the hover thing. Let me show you guys how to do the hover thing when you go off a balloon. Let me go to that balloon over there. I'm so far away. The way it works is you want to look straight up in the sky. And then you want to free look around and try to fly in towards mountains or walls or buildings or high hills. Because that animation when you start flying that will send you upwards and get more airtime is an animation that gets triggered when you're close to like terrain, when you're close to a mountain or a building or a wall. So my goal is to try to maintain my height in the air as much as possible by looking up and touching things that are like, you know, like getting close to them, try to fly towards them. So I'm going to look straight up, fly forward, and then kind of use my A and D key to steer myself into touching something like this. Like I fall close to the mountain or the cliff or whatever, and then I do it again, it triggers again, and then I fly towards low ground, back towards high ground, towards low ground, back towards high ground, to get as much time in the air as I possibly can. So the best way to do it is definitely like learning specific like routes to like how you go back and forth to maximize the distance, just trying different things. Because since all the balloons are in set locations, it's pretty useful knowing exactly what to do to go as far as you possibly can. You can do this when you're landing those if you look straight up and get some more airtime. So here we go. I'm going to go forward again. Gonna try to touch this cliff, or not touch it, but get close enough to it to trigger it. Then I go towards the side. I change my direction, fly towards this one. Trigger it again, fly towards the next one, which would be probably over here. And do it one more time towards the cliff, maybe. And now I'm gonna touch the ground. But I almost got all the way here, which is a lot further than just doing it normally. Do you need to hold W to go up? Yeah, you hold W the entire way. So you look up and you just go forward. You can also jump off. And mid-air, just before touching the ground, you can kick. And that way, you can run immediately after landing. Otherwise, if you land from high, like if you land from far up, like right here, if you jump off, you land on the ground, it's going to play an animation. That's going to prevent you from walking or running when you land. But if you just before touching the ground, if you do it just before touching the ground, and you kick the air towards the ground like this, you can immediately start running. At least immediately start walking and then start your sprint animation after the running animation. I will show you how I set up my auto execute and how I get my FPS to be uncapped, how I like all my performance-based commands, all my settings and stuff like that you can't change in the game. So let me find where the fuck I installed Apex, because okay, I got it. Here is my program files, play Apex, and CFG folder. You will have a file called config default PC CFG. So what I do is I copy that and I paste it, and then I change the name to auto exec. Don't put the one there. This is just because I already have one. And then I open it with Notepad or Notepad++, and it should look like this. All this stuff, just remove it, okay? You remove all that stuff. These are the things that are in my auto execute. I have CL_force preload 0. You can try putting it at 1, but it probably won't help you because this is a bad command to have. I have FPS max 0, which uncaps my FPS, so I can have unlimited FPS. And I want 240 FPS and above because I'm playing on a 240 Hz monitor. I have Ragdoll Collide and Matte Compressed Textures 1. These settings, I will have them in the description, these 3 settings that you want in your auto execute. You can also put other things in your auto execute, like the normal commands you put in your launch options. The way to access your launch options is that you go on your game library, you click on the game, press the cogwheel, press game properties, and then advanced launch options. All of these things here, make sure you put in plus exec space auto exec. This means that when the game launches, it will read your auto execute file, which would be this, and actually read it and put enable the settings in the game. Jesus Christ, I can't talk. In here, you probably want to remove -high. You don't want to use that. But all these other things, so you don't need that either. You don't need either of these. So all these things, I'll put them in the description as well. So I have these. Don't need console either. That shit doesn't work. These things. Plus CL_show FPS 4. You can try 1, 2, 3, 4. They will show differently. I can post them in the chat as well, yes. 1, 2, 3, 4 will show differently. This is the white text on the top left of my screen when I'm playing. My editor will show you, probably just fucking highlight part of the game, and it's the top left. Full screen just means that you play the game in full screen. No vid disables the launch video. So when you launch the game, there's a video that plays. This disables that. -force, no VSync. Make sure that you don't have any VSync on. But you have to, if you want to use an auto execute, you have to have this in here, the plus exec auto exec. And then you save it. And then you just save this too as well. Make sure that it's called autoexec.cfg. I prepared a text file so you guys can read it easier, but it would still just look like this for me. This is what it looks like, my auto execute. I don't want that enabled, actually. I'm gonna turn that off right now. Probably. I was testing it yesterday, and 1 and 0, 1 will probably get you stuttering. Sometimes even really big stuttering. So you don't want that. You can either not put it in or just put a 0 there. Then you save it, and that's it. You can launch the game now as long as you saved your launch options and under game properties and advanced launch options and put this in. You can launch the game, and these settings in this folder will go live. Make sure it's a CFG file though. Let me post these in the chat for you guys. There you go. Okay. Now go back to the game. What's auto execute? It's a folder that you put in. It's basically just telling the game what settings to enable or disable. So you can put a bunch of the console settings in there. So for instance, like the compressed textures one or FPS_max 0, I put that in my auto execute. And that tells the game that I want my game to be uncapped on its FPS. I don't want a limiter on my FPS. So you see in menus, I'm getting 1,300 FPS. I'm getting like 1,900. Sometimes in some screens, even 3,000, 2,000. This is because the auto execute folder is telling the game, hey, I want these settings to be set in this specific way. But there's no FPS setting in video or gameplay or anything. So by putting that in there, you can uncap the FPS because you're telling the game to do it regardless of the setting not existing in the actual game. Is your command to change hertz? As I can't quite reach the consistent 144 on my PC. So if you don't have your Windows settings set to specific refresh rate, what you want to do is go in here, either in the auto execute or in game properties, and add /refresh, or no, -refresh, sorry. Dash is the fucking one line, isn't it? -refresh space, and then the refresh rate you want. So that will set the game to that refresh rate. But as long as your Windows monitored like hertz is set to 240 or 144, you don't need to put that in.